If you could hold a photo album from Deadwood in 1876, what would you see? Not the movie version, not the polished cowboy posters. I mean the real details people didn't pose for. Mud, soot, tired eyes, and the quiet fear hiding behind a joke. Tonight, we're opening a lost photo album from Deadwood's first wild year, rebuilt with AI images grounded in real history. And we're going to walk through it like we're standing there, page by page. One quick note before we begin. These images are AI recreations inspired by historical records. They are not original archival photos. But the goal is the same, to make the past feel close enough to touch. Page turn. Page 1. The road into Deadwood. Page 1 shows the road into Deadwood. Not a romantic trail. A churned-up track carved by wagon wheels, packed with hooves, lined with people who look like they've slept in their clothes for a week. You can almost smell it. Wet leather, pine smoke, and the sharp bite of sweat in cold air. Most towns begin with a plan. Deadwood began with a direction. Follow the money. Would you have come here if you knew there might not be a clean way back? Page turn. Page 2 is the street that never dries. Page 2 is the main street. It doesn't look like a street. It looks like a river that decided to stop moving and turn into mud. This is the part people forget when they picture boomtowns. It's not just danger, it's discomfort. Mud is everywhere, on boots, on hems, on wagon spokes, the kind of mud that steals your step and makes every small errand feel like work. Deadwood was loud, but not always from gunfire. It was loud from living too close together. Hammers, arguments, and the constant sound of something being built too fast. It's like trying to run a modern city inside a construction site that never closes. Page turn. Page 3. The signs. On page 3, the camera finds the signs. Saloon, hotel, assay office, groceries. In a boomtown, signs don't just advertise, they reassure. They tell you this place is real, this place might last. Spend your money here and maybe you'll still be alive tomorrow. Look closer. Many of the signs are crooked because the buildings are new, the wood is fresh, and everything is settling at the same time. Like the whole town is still deciding what shape it wants. Page turn. Page 4. The gold you don't see. Page 4 is not gold. It's the work around gold. A man in a simple shirt, sleeves rolled, hands cracked. A woman carrying water. A kid watching, learning early that adults lie about how easy money is. Gold was the headline, but the story was supply. In a place like this, the most valuable skill might not be mining. It might be cooking, hauling, repairing, cutting lumber, sewing, building. Boomtowns run on invisible jobs. And in 1876, those jobs had no safety nets. If you had to survive here, what would your job be? Mining, hauling, cooking, or building? Page turn. Page 5. the saloon door. Page 5 is a saloon entrance. The door is caught mid-swing, but the image is frozen. A rare moment where the inside light leaks out like a promise. Saloons weren't just for drinking. They were bulletin boards, banks, courtrooms, hiring halls, sometimes all in the same hour. And if you look at the men outside, notice this. They're not all cowboys. Some are miners, some are gamblers, some are clerks, some are just passing through, trying to look like they belong. In early Deadwood, reputation was a kind of currency. People wore it like a coat. And the problem is, a coat can be taken off fast. Page turn. Page 6. The gambling table. Page 6 shows a table. Cards, chips, whiskey, a cramped ring of shoulders. This is where Deadwood starts to feel like a pressure cooker. In a small space with money on the table, pride gets heavy. And in 1876, pride could end a conversation the wrong way. But here's the detail to notice. Not the faces, the hands. Hands are honest. One set is steady. One set is trembling. One set is stained. One set is clean. Deadwood was a mix of people with nothing to lose and people with everything to protect, and they were forced to breathe the same air. It's like putting strangers in a storm shelter and asking them to share a secret. Page turn. Page 7. The law arrives late. Page 7 is a badge. Or maybe it's not even a badge. Maybe it's a man trying to become one. Because law in a boomtown arrives late, after money, after conflict, after the first tragedies people try not to talk about. Deadwood is famous for legends, gunslingers, gamblers, names that became headlines. But the deeper truth is simpler. When rules are unclear, people invent their own. And the strongest rule becomes this: don't look weak. That's the quiet engine behind a lot of frontier violence. Not evil, not madness, just fear dressed up as confidence. Page 8. The edge of town. Now turn to page 8, and we leave the noise. This photo is taken at the edge of town, where the buildings thin out and the hills start to take the light away. Out here, the ground looks different, less trampled. You can see grass, you can see space, and suddenly Deadwood looks small. That's another thing people forget. Boomtowns feel huge when you're inside them, but step outside and you remember you're still in wild country. The town is a pocket of heat in a cold landscape, and it can't protect you from everything. Would you sleep better in the center of town or out here on the edge? Page 9. A face you'll never know. Page 9 is a portrait, not of a legend, just a person. This is where we slow down. Because history is full of famous names, but those names are the tip of the iceberg. Under them are thousands of people who never made it into a book. People who left home believing they'd come back rich. People who didn't come back at all. People who stayed, married, built something. watched the town turn from a camp into a place with rules and routine. And the wild part is this. In 1876, no one in Deadwood knew what Deadwood would become. They were living forward, guessing, just like we do. Page 10. The Night Sound. Page 10 is a night street scene. Lanterns, smoke, shadow. A couple of figures caught mid-step. If you've ever walked through a city late at night, you know the feeling. Your ears do more work than your eyes. In Deadwood, sound was information. A laugh could mean safe. A sudden silence could mean leave. A shout could be nothing, or it could be the start of something you don't want to be near. And here's the honest truth. Most nights weren't shootouts. Most nights were ordinary. People ate, people drank, people argued, people tried to fall asleep. And in the morning, the mud was still there. That's the real endurance of the frontier, not the dramatic moments, but the repetition. So that's our first reconstructed album from Deadwood, 1876. Not a legend, not a poster, a living place built too fast by people hungry for a different life. And if there's a lesson hiding in these pages, it might be this. Boomtowns don't only reveal what people want, they reveal what people become when they think time is short. If you want, we can make this a series, one lost album at a time. Next episodes could be Tombstone in its early days, Virginia City at the edge of collapse, Victorian London after dark, Australia's gold rush camps, Norway's Arctic frontiers. Before you go, comment one thing. Which photo felt the most real to you? The road in, the saloon door, or the night street? And if you want the next album, subscribe. More pages are coming.